In 1969, the Los Angeles Rams and Minnesota Vikings met in the playoffs for the first time. They met 5 times from 1969 through 1978, and the Vikings won 4 times. The 12-win and 2-loss Vikings were 7-point favorites over the 11-win and 3-loss Rams. Furthermore, the Vikings beat the Rams 20-13 3 weeks earlier in Los Angeles. That Rams loss was their first of the season, and they also lost the next 2 games when they scored only a total of 7 points. They were trying to break a reputation of being choke artists, because the Rams had lost the last 2 regular season games in 1968 to finish out of the playoffs after starting the season with 10 wins, 1 loss, and 1 tie. The home team Vikings were a powerhouse, as they had the '1 scoring team in the NFL with a 27 points per game offense, along with the '1 defense in terms of points allowed with only 9.5 per game. The Vikings head coach Bud Grant had an entirely different philosophy regarding the treatment of preseason games than his counterpart George Allen. Whereas George Allen placed an extremely strong emphasis on winning, Bud Grant treated it as an opportunity in which to rest his best players as much as possible in order to keep them fresh during the entire duration of the regular season and hopefully throughout the playoffs. Minnesota's defense was predicated on hard hitting and harassing quarterbacks. The Vikings offense experienced postseason jitters as running back Bill Brown fumbled on the second play of the game, and the Rams' Richie Pettibone recovered. Ultra-quick defensive tackle Alan Page was a little too quick on this play. He was penalized for being offsides, and the Carl Eller interception return for an apparent touchdown was negated. Rookie running back Larry Smith led the Rams with 599 rushing yards during the regular season, and he was the Rams' first-round draft pick out of the University of Florida. The Rams ranked last in rushing yards in the NFL. Wide receiver Wendell Tucker paced the Rams with 7 touchdown catches in 1969. Tight end Bob Klein hauled in this touchdown pass, and he was the last of the Rams' 3 first-round draft picks in 1969. This touchdown was the first surrendered by the Vikings defense in the first quarter all season. From the 1-yard line, Dave Osborne knifed into the end zone. He led the Vikings in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns during the regular season. The Rams used quick trap plays to offset Alan Page's quickness. Larry Smith and Willie Ellison picked up nice gains, but this drive ended in a missed field goal attempt. Merlin Olsen and Coy Bacon combined for a Joe Cap sandwich sack. The Rams' defensive line was nicknamed the Fearsome Foursome for good reason. Their 41.5 sacks were the majority of the team's 50 sacks, which were the second most in the NFL. Cornerback Clancy Williams had 7 interceptions in 1969, but he had his hands full with Gene Washington all game long. Roman Gabriel was the most difficult quarterback to sack in the NFL. On 413 regular season dropbacks, he was only sacked 14 times. He was a huge quarterback in this era at 6'4" and 220 pounds, and he was fearless. Gabriel accurately assessed that the best way to pass against the Vikings was with a short passing game. In fact, the Rams' longest pass play on the day was only 17 yards. Gabriel converted 3 third-down situations with short passes to running back Les Josephson, who had a game-high 7 receptions that yielded a modest 41 yards. However, on 3rd down and 6 at the Vikings' 18-yard line, Gabriel came up short when strong safety Carl Kosalki belted Josephson short of the first down marker. The Rams quickly got the ball back and Gabriel rolled out and past a charging Carl Eller, then hit tight end Billy Truax for one good gain, and then another. Gabriel was 10 of 13 passing at this point and had the Vikings defense seemingly in the palm of his hand as he continued to pick the Vikings defense apart, aided by numerous diving catches by Billy Truax. The Rams had the momentum, as well as a 10-point halftime lead, compliments of the brilliant field generalship of Roman Gabriel. He was the NFL's MVP for the 1969 season, and he led the league with 24 touchdown passes. He was an expert marksman, as his 7 interceptions factored into his NFL low 1.8 interception percentage. During the start of the second half, the Vikings displayed why they ranked number 1 with only 3.2 yards per carry allowed. They were also second best in the NFL in rushing yards allowed, with an average of only 77.8 per game. Vikings running backs ran 22 times in this game for only 55 yards, so it was no surprise that Joe Kapp came out throwing in the second half. The Vikings caught a break when number 19 Jim Nettles was called for a questionable interference penalty. He was traded with future Hall of Fame offensive tackle Bob Brown from the Eagles to the Rams on May 12, 1969. Jim Nettles was also a part of this play, one in which he narrowly missed breaking up. The Vikings offense got the ball back in quick fashion, marched downfield methodically, but Kapp tried to thread the needle needlessly and paid dearly. Eddie Meador picked Kapp clean, and Jim Purnell rambled for 5 more yards. Just 1 minute later, Kapp threw his second interception, this time to strong safety Richie Pettibone. This was another key play in the game. Left defensive tackle Gary Larson stunted, but was stonewalled at the line of scrimmage. Unable to locate an open receiver, Gabriel tried to wiggle through the Vikings' front 4, but Alan Page put the squeeze on him. Joe Kapp was the Vikings' leading rusher in this game. He gained 42 yards on 7 carries, and this touchdown with the subsequent successful point-after attempt put the Vikings ahead for the first time, 21-20. The Vikings only allowed 8 passing touchdowns while intercepting 30 passes. Both of these marks were the best in the NFL during the regular season. as was their stingy 116.5 passing yards allowed per game. They were perhaps the greatest defense of all time for a single season. Eller didn't just beat anyone on this play, he beat Bob Brown, who made 7 consecutive All-Pro teams through the 1969 season and who is a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. With 8 minutes left, there was still plenty of time left, but Joe Kapp was clocked and fumbled on 3rd down. The Vikings punted, and the Rams started their drive on their 15-yard line. Now, with 5 minutes remaining, the Vikings defense dug in to protect their 3-point lead. Gabriel utilized screen passes and short hitch passes in order to keep defenders off his back. Alan Page made yet another big play when he batted, then caught Gabriel's ill-advised pass to seal the deal for the Vikings. Vikings played host to the Cleveland Browns 8 days later in the NFL Championship game. For the Rams, however, they had a long flight to LA awaiting them.